Hello my dear health seekers, Inga from Health Urgents here. So week 10 of meal prep for weight loss show. So today I'm going to be making a lentil tomato soup slash stew and also making a slicing sausage using Okara and as well as a couple of other bits. So let's begin. So this is one of these quick instant pot recipes that only need about 5 to 10 minutes of active work, probably about 5 minutes really. You could just put everything in and not fry, so you can omit that step and then it'll be 5 minutes, you know, to chop the veggies. But I prefer to fry the base ingredients a little bit and then put everything in and let it cook. So this tomato lentil vegetable soup is really yummy but so simple. So I'm preheating my Instant Pot on saute mode to get that to the heat that we want. So I've heated up my Instant Pot. It says hot on the indication there, so I'm gonna just add one chopped onion. So this is one medium onion chopped. This is 2 carrots chopped as well. And this is 2 sticks of celery chopped up, sliced as well. So this is really the base for most of soups and stews. Really need to fry this for a few minutes, but we also gonna add a few twigs or sprigs of thyme here and 1 bay leaf. I'm gonna try and burrow it in a little bit so that it becomes aromatic, and we want to fry this for about 3 to 5 minutes, I would say, for it to start becoming kind of more translucent, even browning a little bit. We just kind of want to get that nice roasting and browning action happening. And if it starts sticking, then add 2 tablespoons at a time to deglaze the pan and keep on going. So the vegetables have browned a little. I've switched it off so that it doesn't cause too much steam for us guys. So yeah, it's been about 4 or 5 minutes. Now I'm going to add the rest of the ingredients. So this is 3 cloves of garlic I have, or you could put 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, whichever you've got on hand or whichever you prefer. If you don't want to you know, get smelly and you don't want to bother with peeling and crushing garlic, then just put a teaspoon of garlic powder. Then I've got half a cup of basmati brown rice. In it goes. The star of the show, brown lentils. So this is 2 cups of brown lentils. They look beautiful, like little pebbles, like little marbles. So yeah, so 2 cups of brown or green lentils, whichever ones you have. Then we'll do other spices. So I've got a teaspoon of parsley here, dried parsley. Add that in. Half a teaspoon of rosemary. And half a teaspoon of oregano, whatever way you call it. Then I've got 3 tins. So this is 400 gram tin of chopped tomatoes in tomato juice. So 3 tins go in, and you can also slightly rinse out your tins, you know, with just that bit of water to get all the goodness, tomato goodness out. And then the last ingredient is stock. So this is 1.5 liters of stock, or 6 cups, and it almost reaches the maximum capacity of the Instant Pot. So yeah, and in fact one additional ingredient I want to add this time is some miso paste. So you could add either brown miso paste, red miso paste, but I haven't got those. I have white miso paste, so I'm going to add that in. So this is a tablespoon of white miso paste, and if you can hear something strange in the background, that's my kitty being super vocal. Yeah, I can hear you, kitty. So yeah, so that's it. I'm gonna just actually mix the miso in. You're supposed to really actually leave a little bit of stock and put the miso in there and distribute it there. It kind of mixes up much better that way. But this is quite a loose, the white miso is quite loose, so it'll mix in here okay. Normally you need to do that with brown or red miso. Don't put it in the whole pot because it'll be, difficult for you to mix it up. Just put it in a bit of stock or water, maybe a cup or half a cup, and then mix it in there and then pour it in like a slurry. So that is it. So now I'm gonna put this on a soup or broth setting for 20 minutes and the soup will be done. If you don't have obviously Instant Pot, you can do it in any other pressure pot, or if you don't have a pressure pot, you could simmer it in a normal pot probably for about half an hour or just a bit more to see how it cooks through. So yeah, so you could definitely do it in a normal pot as well. So the lentil tomato soup is finished. I've just it released for about 10-15 minutes, and then I actually released the remaining steam because I couldn't wait any longer. And then I'm gonna fish out the bay leaf, and then also, if you can try and fish out the sprigs of thyme like this, because it's probably not going to be very pleasant to find that in a bowl. So this soup is nice and thick. If you like your soups a little bit runnier, which I do, you could always add a bit more water or a bit more stock now to just kind of dilute it, because it's almost like a stew really rather than a soup for this consistency for me. So yeah, now we'll do a little taste test. And now for the best part, onto the taste testing. So this is a really thick soup, so it's more like a stew actually. I think I would add a little bit more stock to this to thin it out a bit. Or if you fancy a stew, then that's perfect. It's such a quick and simple to make soup. Or stew if you like, that it definitely could be a staple for us every week, and it is delicious. I would say maybe I would add a little bit more salt to this, and perhaps next time I'll make it with 2 cans of tomatoes rather than 3, so it doesn't have as much tang as it does. I mean, it is tomato based soup, so you do want some tang there, but perhaps I think I would enjoy it even more if it had only 2 cans of tomatoes and maybe a bit more stock, and it was kind of more umami and less sour from the tomatoes. Yeah, I would definitely recommend trying this. So this is me experimenting in making Okara Slicing Sausage. So I'm starting with 1.5 cups of Okara. So this is from one batch of soy milk making. So yeah, so this is fresh Okara from yesterday. I had it in the fridge, covered. So one batch of Okara. Then I've got 1 kind of large or medium size beetroot, roast it and blend it into a puree. If you don't have beetroot or don't want to use beetroot for coloring, you could use beetroot juice. So you can get beetroot juice powder and you could add that, but I had this to use up, so I'm using this. And if you're not using beetroot in this recipe, and again, I'm totally experimenting, we'll see how that works out, but from looking at quite a few recipes and from what I've done in the past with similar recipes, I think this should work. So I'm just gonna mix my okara with the beetroot puree. So this should make quite a red sausage. Red slicing is probably almost too red, to be honest. It's kind of like, yeah, it's gonna be a pink or magenta style sausage. It's gonna be like my top here, I think. We'll see how it turns out. That's what I love about vegan food, because I love experimenting, doing different things, you know, replacing you know, say meat with vegan alternatives. I absolutely love it. Some experiments don't work, some experiments do, so fingers crossed this is one of those that works out. So I've got, let's add some spices. So I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika here, so for that smokiness. Then I've got, for the umami flavor, I've got 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. Use tamari or coconut aminos as well would work. Then I've got 1 teaspoon of finely ground sage. So I'm going to add the sage here. I've got about 1/4 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. If you like more pepper, you could use maybe up to 1/2 teaspoon. Then I've got my onion powder. So I'm actually going to use a little sieve, because this got some lumps, so I'm going to use a sieve to make sure it's lump free. So a generous teaspoon of onion powder I'm using, and get it in there. And as you can have heard, I'm preheating my oven on 180 degrees Celsius as well. So there's 1 teaspoon of onion powder, and then I've got about 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder here, which is, you know, just what I wanted. So also sieve that through, so about 1/2 teaspoon. You could also use fresh garlic here as well, but I prefer to use the powders in these recipes where I'm making kind of seitan products, so it's like a bit smoother. It doesn't have, you know, larger bits. Right, so that's good now. So that was garlic. I'm gonna add 1/2 teaspoon or maybe 1/4 teaspoon of salt, because we're going to be adding some other bits. We already added soy sauce, and we're going to be adding 1 tablespoon of miso paste. This is white miso paste, that's all that's left, so I'm going to put all of that in. So just scrape it all out. Then we've got 1/2 teaspoon of oregano. In fact, sorry, 1/4 teaspoon, not gonna overdo it. I'll do about 1/4 teaspoon of oregano herb. And then we're gonna be adding 1/2 teaspoon of mustard. So this is Dijon mustard, so I'm just gonna add a little bit. We are not fans of mustard or kind of that kind of spiciness, so I'll just add a little bit. And also, if you don't have smoked paprika, for example, you could add some liquid smoke instead. And now you could either keep it completely whole foods and add a cup of wholemeal flour, wheat flour. However, I wanted a little bit firmer texture, so I'm gonna be adding 1 cup of vital wheat gluten, which is just the gluten to bind it all together. So we'll kind of be making almost a seitan, if you like. So okara and beetroot pulp, they're acting as like as beans would, for example. In my chicken recipe, I'm using chickpeas, so this okara is kind of like a bean pulp anyway. So I'm adding a cup of vital wheat gluten. So that should now form into a dough. And if you're not using the beetroot puree, but using just beetroot coloring instead, then add maybe 3/4 of a cup of vital wheat gluten. It's so hard for me to say vital wheat. I really, my tongue is like doing, like, it's confused. It's so difficult for me to say the 2 different V's together, because in Lithuania we don't have a W, so I always want to say V where the W is, and when you have to say them 2 together, it's like a tongue twister for me. So yeah, so this is where you need to do a little bit of kneading to get the gluten to activate a bit, so it kind of makes up like a little bit of a firmer texture for the sausage. So I've got a mixer. So I've got a mixer with the dough hooks attachment. If you have a stand mixer, you know, proper baker's stand mixer, then you could use that. I'm gonna use this little one. So I've put on gloves, kitchen gloves. Obviously make sure you don't do it with your household gloves that you clean the toilets with. Have your separate gloves. So I'm just gonna, because I don't fancy having red hands from this. It's very lots of beetroot in this. So basically I'm forming this into some kind of little loaf. In fact, I think this is almost too long. Well, I'm gonna actually, yeah, so I'm gonna form it a little bit longer and thinner into some kind of sausage shape, and I'm gonna be adding it to my silicone tin here. So that will kind of form some kind of shape there. It'll keep some sort of shape. It'll be like a square sausage, if you like, because that's what we are kind of effectively making, some kind of slicing sausage. So yeah, so that'll be good. So now I'm gonna be putting it in a metal tin, roasting tin with the lid here. And we need a bit of water, about 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters of water in this pan, so it's kind of gonna be steaming inside. So I've got some water in this roasting tin now, and I'm gonna be putting the lid on and putting it in the oven. I'll do it on 180 for an hour and see what happens. Right, so this has baked for an hour, and the mistake I actually did, that I did not wrap it in parchment paper, and it got a little bit soggy from all the steam, so it's quite more like a roast rather than a seitan sausage that I was hoping. It still obviously holds together, but it's kind of quite soft in my opinion, especially, you know, the bottom. It's got a little, you know, got some obviously moisture there. So what I'm gonna do, I decided I'm gonna put some hoisin sauce all around it, and I'm gonna roast it for about 20 minutes or so, to just kind of dry it out and just have it as a roast instead of the sausage. So I've got a little bit of hoisin sauce. Let's hope it's enough to coat this. You could make your own glaze from, say, maple syrup, soy sauce, some smoked paprika, miso paste perhaps, so you could make your own little glaze from these kind of ingredients. But my husband loves hoisin, so I'm just gonna do hoisin this time. And it's tricky to get it everywhere, so just gonna try and do my best. It's gonna be running over everywhere. And do this side as well. And gonna do a little bit of underside too. So just try to glaze all around. And I've got my oven preheating on 200 degrees. Yeah. And I'll roast it for about 20 to 25 minutes. So I ended up baking this slicing sausage slash roast that it ended up being for about 15-20 minutes maybe. I didn't put my actual timer on, but I think about 15-20 minutes. And yeah, it's kind of dried out a little bit, which is good. And I've got a taste tester here for you.
Hello everyone.
Yeah, who's happy to taste that out.
Reporting for duty.
And also, I don't know if you could see here, it's got a little bit of pink in the middle there. Yeah, so it's kind of like browner on the top, because obviously I put your favorite hoisin sauce glaze.
Awesome.
And yeah, so let's tuck in. So I've kind of already divided it into a couple of pieces.
Bon appetit.
Yeah. So I think it's definitely more like a roast rather than a steak. A slicing sausage even. Yeah, it's more.
Yeah, it's not slicing sausage, definitely not.
No, it's more of a roast. But it's actually not bad, huh?
It tastes really good.
Yeah.
The texture's still a little bit soft.
It's quite soft, but I think it would be nice with some gravy and mashed potatoes and stuff. Yeah. So I think it's a good experiment, but I think I'll need to refine my sausage mix. But yeah, we'll have that with some steamed veggies, maybe we'll make some potatoes as well, some rice, yeah.
Good.
So yeah, it's a success, although it's not what I intended, what I tried to do, but it still works. This is the whole lot. So we've got 2 bits of lentils tomato soup slash stew. I really call it more stew because it's quite thick, but like I say, you could put more stock and make it more soupy. Then I've made the usual batch of my basic risotto. This one has some leeks and mushrooms, so I'll link to my recipe, to my risotto in the description below and the card above as well. Then it's my slicing sausage slash, actually more of a roast it ended up being, made using Okara And then I also just thinly sliced mandolin, actually, a half of a small red cabbage, and one red pointed pepper as well for stir fries. So we'll probably end up making some maybe potato mash as well, maybe to go with roast, and we'll have some steamed veggies as well to have through the week. And we'll have probably a stir fry with some chunks of this roast as well, and then enjoy the risotto, enjoy the stew. So this is the lot.